In the realm of marble temples and endless seas, where gods walk among mortals and fate is written in starlight, love was never just love. It was a bargain with destiny. Here, a kiss could awaken blessings, or curses. A promise could defy death, or summon it. These are the stories the ancients whispered by firelight, not simply of passion, but of trials, sacrifices, and the gods who watched from the shadows. Tonight, we journey into 5 such tales where mortal hearts beat against the will of Olympus, and learn whether love can ever be stronger than fate. Orpheus and Eurydice, the song that could not save her. The moon hung low over the silent hills of Thrace, silver light spilling across the grass like a dream poured from the heavens. Somewhere among the shadows, a lyre sang, not with the careless joy of a tavern tune, but with the aching beauty of a heart too full to speak in words. The melody carried over the meadows, past the sleeping shepherds, past the murmuring rivers, and into the ear of the night itself. And the night listened. The hands that plucked the strings belonged to Orpheus, son of the muse Calliope, whose gift was not strength of arm nor cunning in war, but a voice and music so pure that even the stones seemed to lean toward him. They said his songs could charm beasts from their dens and persuade trees to uproot themselves and follow. But that night, he played for one heart alone, Eurydice. She came to him like the dawn over the mountains, light where there had been only shadow, warmth where there had been only cold. Her laughter was brighter than Apollo's chariot, and her touch, oh, her touch, could silence the deepest storms inside him. They were as 2 souls who had always known each other, and in knowing, could never be apart. But joy is a fragile thing in the realm of gods and men. And love, they say, attracts the gaze of fate as surely as the moon draws the tides. It happened on a day too beautiful for death. The meadow lay golden under the sun, the air sweet with the perfume of wildflowers. Eurydice wandered barefoot, chasing the music of Orpheus's lyre through the tall grass. But there was another sound in the field, a rustle that did not belong to the wind. From the shadows coiled a viper, silent and deadly. She never saw it. A flash of fangs. A cry cut short. And then, silence. By the time Orpheus found her, her skin was already pale, her breath already gone. The lyre slipped from his hands. He gathered her into his arms, calling her name as if his voice alone could call her soul back from the brink. But the meadow gave no answer. The gods, it seemed, had turned their faces away. Yet Orpheus was not a man to surrender to grief without a song. His love was too deep, his loss too vast. So he made a choice no mortal should dare to make. He would follow her into death. Not to join her, but to bring her back. He descended into the underworld, where no sun ever shines, where the air is thick with the scent of ash and the slow drip of unseen waters. Shadows clung to him like mourners' veils, and unseen voices whispered warnings. But his lyre was in his hands again, and from it rose a melody so full of longing that even the cold heart of Hades paused to hear it. They say Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of the dead, lay down at his feet like a harmless pup. They say the Furies, who knew only vengeance, wept tears black as obsidian. And at last, before the thrones of Hades and Persephone, Orpheus played the song of his love of the meadow, the laughter, the warmth now stolen away. Persephone's eyes softened, Hades' own stern gaze wavered. At last, the Lord of the Dead spoke. "Take her," he said. "But with one condition. As you lead her back into the light, she will follow. But you must not turn to look at her until you stand beneath the sun again. If you do, she is ours forever." Orpheus swore it. They began the long walk upward, through caverns where the walls dripped with ancient tears, past rivers whose waters carried the whispers of the forgotten. He could hear her footsteps behind him, light, hesitant, but there. Every beat of his heart said, "She is here. She is mine again." But doubt is a crueler serpent than any in the meadow. The closer they came to the light, the more the silence behind him seemed too deep. What if she was not there? What if the gods had deceived him? What if he was walking alone? And so, with the sunlight just at his fingertips, Orpheus turned. For the briefest breath of time, she was there, his Eurydice, eyes full of love and sorrow, her lips parting to speak his name. Then she was gone, torn away like mist in the wind, falling back into the dark. The last sound he heard was her whisper, "Farewell." Orpheus returned to the world of the living, but it was no longer his. His lyre still sang, But every song was a lament, each note a thread in the shroud of his grief. He wandered until the end of his days, a man who had once touched heaven, and then lost it forever. And so the story of Orpheus and Eurydice is told not as a tale of failure, but as proof that love will defy even the laws of death, though it may not always win. Hero and Leander, love across the dark waters. The sea at night is a living thing. It breathes, it whispers, it swallows the moon and throws it back in broken silver pieces. And on the shores of the Hellespont, its voice has carried countless secrets, but none so haunting as the story of Hero and Leander. Hero was a priestess of Aphrodite, devoted to the goddess of love. She lived in a tower high above the waves, where the wind tasted of salt and the air shimmered with the scent of roses. Her beauty was not the kind that shouted, it was the kind that drew you closer, as if the air itself leaned toward her. She wore her hair loose as the sea wind, and in her eyes was a light that could guide you home. It was at a festival in honor of Aphrodite that Hero first saw him, Leander, a youth from the opposite shore. There were dancers in the torchlight, music in the warm summer air, but for Hero and Leander, the world shrank to the space between their eyes. They spoke briefly, too briefly, but it was enough. By the time the night was over, they knew they could not return to the lives they had before. Love had taken root, and nothing else mattered. But between them lay the Hellespont, narrow, yes, but fierce in its currents, treacherous in its moods. Ships crossed it, but the distance between their hearts felt longer still. Leander made a vow. Each night, he would swim the dark waters to be with her. And each night, from her high tower, Hero would light a lamp, its glow a golden thread to lead him through the waves. And so began their secret ritual. The sea was no gentle friend, but Leander was strong, his heart beating to the rhythm of Hero's lamp. He cut through the water as the moon rode high above, following the steady beacon until he reached the shore below her tower. There, dripping and breathless, he would climb to her, and their hours together would be stolen from the sleeping world. Night after night, they met, their love deepening with every crossing. The lamp became their silent promise, its light meant he was coming, its glow meant she was waiting. But fate does not leave such beauty untouched. One night, the sky turned black as if the gods themselves had spilled ink across the heavens. A storm rose from the depths, lashing the water into a fury. The waves reared like beasts, the wind tore the stars from the sky, and the rain struck like arrows. From her tower, Hero stood at the window, shielding the lamp from the storm. She prayed to Aphrodite, to Poseidon, to any who would listen, but the wind roared too loud for prayers. And then, horror, the lamp guttered, flickered, and went out. Somewhere in the dark water, Leander was swimming blind. The waves threw him aside, dragged him under, hurled him toward the jagged rocks. But he swam still, until strength left him and the sea claimed him as its own. At dawn, the storm broke. The water lay calm again, cruel in its peace. And on the shore below her tower, Hero found him. His body lay still, his face turned toward her as if even in death he sought her light. They say she stood for a long time, silent as the stone beneath her feet. And then, without a word, she stepped from the tower into the sea, letting the water close over her head. The Hellespont carried them both, together at last, to the place where the sea meets the sky. And so the lovers' light was extinguished, but their story remains, told whenever the sea is black and the wind sings through the night. It is said that if you stand on those shores when the moon is full, you can still see a faint glow far out in the water, and hear the steady rhythm of a swimmer's strokes, searching for the light of love. Pygmalion and Galatea, the sculptor's dream. In the white blinding sun of Cyprus, where the marble quarries gleam like frozen seas, there lived a man whose heart was not stirred by women of flesh and blood. Pygmalion was a sculptor, one of rare genius, but also rare solitude. He moved through the markets and festivals of his city with distant eyes, untouched by beauty that made other men weak. To him, their hearts seemed fickle, their affections fragile. He wanted something more, something flawless, something untouched by time or betrayal. So he began to carve. In the stillness of his workshop, amid the scent of stone dust and the echo of chisel strikes, a figure began to emerge from the marble. Day after day, he worked, his hands moving as if guided by something beyond himself. He carved the curve of a cheek, the delicate slope of a neck, the graceful lines of a woman's form until she seemed to breathe beneath his fingers. She was perfection. No mortal woman could compare. Her beauty was not the kind found in the streets, it was the beauty of dreams, of impossible ideals. Her skin, though stone, held the glow of moonlight. Her lips, though silent, seemed ready to speak his name. Pygmalion named her Galatea. He spoke to her in the long hours of the night. He told her his hopes, his fears, the quiet grief of a man apart from the world. He laid gifts at her feet, seashells kissed by the tide, robes of the softest linen, jewels that caught the light like captured stars. And somewhere in that strange, quiet magic, Pygmalion's heart, once guarded like a fortress, was laid bare. He loved her. Not as a creation, not as a work of art, but as a woman. The festival of Aphrodite came, when the air was heavy with roses and the streets shimmered with song. Pygmalion went to the goddess's altar, not to offer thanks for love found, but to beg for love made real. "Goddess of love," he whispered, "you know the truth of my heart. If my devotion has pleased you, grant me this. Let her be more than stone. Let her be flesh. Let her be mine." Aphrodite heard. Perhaps she was moved by the purity of his love, or perhaps by the beauty of what he had made. That night, as Pygmalion returned to his workshop, a strange light filled the room. Galatea's skin seemed warmer in the lamplight, her lips softer in their smile. He reached out, trembling, and for the first time, marble yielded beneath his touch. She breathed. The statue, his Galatea, looked into his eyes and smiled as though she had known him forever. The days that followed were a dream. They walked the markets together, laughed in the sunlit courtyards, and lay side by side beneath the stars. She was no longer the perfect stillness of marble, but the living warmth of love returned. And yet, love born from magic is always tinged with wonder and with warning. Some say they lived happily all their days. Others whisper that the gift of the gods comes at a price, and that perfection, once touched by the world, can never remain as pure. But Pygmalion did not care. For in his arms, Galatea was real. And in her smile, he found the truth he had sought. That love is not in perfection, but in the life it breathes into you. Alcyone Ceyx, the lovers of the halcyon days. In the quiet days of the early world, when the gods still walked among mortals, there lived a king and queen whose love was as constant as the tides. Alcyone, daughter of Airless, keeper of the winds. Ceyx, king of Trachis, a man whose beauty and grace were spoken of in songs. They were more than husband and wife, they were two souls bound as one, moving through life as sunlight moves upon the sea. So deep was their love, so unshakable their joy, that they jested in the presence of the gods. They called each other by divine names, Zeus and Hera, never thinking that the real king of Olympus might hear. But the gods are quick to take offense. And pride, no matter how innocent, has a way of drawing their gaze. One day, Ceyx decided he must sail across the sea to consult an oracle. The journey was long and perilous, and Alcyone's heart ached at the thought. She clung to him at the shore, begging him to remain. "The seas are treacherous," she whispered, "and the winds are not always our friends. Stay. Stay with me." But Ceyx, though he loved her, would not be swayed. He promised he would return quickly, that the gods would keep him safe. And with a final kiss, he stepped aboard his ship and vanished into the horizon. The days passed. Then the storms came. Out upon the blackened waters, lightning clawed at the sky, and waves rose like walls of glass. Ceyx's ship was no match for the fury of Poseidon. The mast splintered, the hull groaned, and the sea swallowed all. As the water closed over him, Ceyx thought not of his crown nor his kingdom, only of Alcyone, the wife he would never see again. In her dreams that night, Alcyone saw the truth. Morpheus, god of dreams, came to her in the shape of her drowned husband. His voice was the wind through a hollow shell, and it told her of the storm, of his death, and of the endless sea between them now. When she awoke, she went to the shore. There, on the breaking waves, she saw a body, his body, washed gently to her feet. Her cry carried out over the water, a sound so filled with grief that even the gods wept to hear it. Moved by her devotion, they took pity. They transformed Alcyone Ceyx into halcyon birds, kingfishers, forever bound together, their wings beating in unison as they skimmed the surface of the sea. And to this day, during the halcyon days of winter, Aeolus still stills the winds so that his daughter and her love may nest in peace upon the calm waters. Their love, once mortal, now soars eternal. A reminder that even in the face of loss, the soul may yet find its way back to the one it cherishes. Psyche and Eros, the love that defied the gods. In a far-off kingdom, there lived a mortal girl whose beauty was said to outshine even the goddess of love herself. Her name, Psyche. From the moment she was grown, people flocked from every corner of the land to glimpse her face. They brought gifts, not to Aphrodite, but to her. Altars to the goddess stood abandoned, their offerings instead laid at Psyche's feet. And Aphrodite, whose pride was as fierce as her beauty, felt her worship slipping away. In her heart, a flame of jealousy took root. She would teach this mortal girl a lesson she would never forget. So she summoned her son, Eros, the god of desire. With his bow of gold and arrows tipped in longing, he was to strike Psyche so that she might fall hopelessly in love with the lowest, most wretched man alive. But when Eros beheld her, he faltered. There she stood in the morning light, her hair a crown of gold, her eyes deep as a midsummer sky. And in that instant, the god of desire felt the very thing he had so often given to others, love, piercing and irrevocable. Instead of cursing her, he carried her away, gently, secretly, to a hidden palace of gold and crystal. By day she roamed gardens where every flower bloomed in eternal spring. By night he came to her, his voice soft in the darkness, his hands warm and tender. Yet there was one rule. She must never look upon his face. Psyche agreed. And for a time, they lived in perfect bliss. But whispers found her jealous sisters planting seeds of doubt. Why does he hide his face? What is he hiding from you? Perhaps he is not a man at all, but a monster. One night, unable to bear the mystery, Psyche lit a lamp while he slept. The golden light fell upon him, no monster, but the most beautiful being she had ever seen. Startled, her hand shook. A drop of hot oil fell upon his skin. He woke. Betrayal stung deeper than the burn. Without a word, Eros vanished into the night. Heartbroken, Psyche wandered the earth to find him. She braved trials set by Aphrodite herself, tasks meant to break her. Sorting mountains of seeds in a single night. Fetching golden wool from man-eating rams. Descending into the underworld to bring back the beauty of Persephone. Each task nearly killed her. But she endured because love, once true, cannot be abandoned. At last, even Aphrodite relented. The gods took pity on her, and Zeus himself decreed that Psyche should be made immortal. At her wedding feast on Olympus, Eros took her hand once more, and the two were bound for all eternity. And so the mortal girl whose beauty rivaled the goddess of love became the very embodiment of it. Not through her face, but through the strength of her heart. The waves fall silent. The music of lyres fades into the night. But these stories remain etched in the heart of time itself. Orpheus, who sang to the dead. Hero, who lit her lamp in the dark. Pygmalion, who loved what he had shaped. Alcyone, who found her Ceyx across the sea. Psyche, who braved the wrath of a goddess for the god of love himself. They teach us that love is no gentle thing. It is a storm, a sword, a sacred fire, and once it takes hold, not even the gods can unmake it. And so I ask you, when your moment comes, when the gods write your name in the stars, will your love be remembered as tragedy or triumph? The choice, my friend, is yours.